Hi you guys, welcome back. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy, and in this video, I'm going to explain to you that whatever you consume, consumes you. So stay tuned. Perception is everything, because whatever you perceive is actually how you understand things. And so it's like how you process information. One of the very first things I learned as a student at the School of Metaphysics years ago, back when I was a student there, was that perception really is everything. And an example that they would use is that even if you are raised in the same place and within the same family structure, with the same rules of the house and everything, you and your siblings all perceive the world differently. And you and your siblings also remember different parts of your childhood. So perception is a very individual thing for the most part. Now, what I want to talk about today is how whatever you consume consumes you. So what I'm referring to is all of the media that you feed to your perceptions is actually taking over what you believe. One of my favorite fictional authors is Kurt Vonnegut. I just really enjoy his dark satire. I guess I have a dark sense of humor sometimes, but one of my favorite books is Dead-Eye Dick. And I have read this book so many times. My dog even chewed it up once, as you can see. But I wanted to share with you how the book begins, because I think that this is a good way to kind of explain perception to you. So let me just go ahead and read this part to you real quick. To the as yet unborn, to all innocent wisps of undifferentiated nothingness, watch out for life. I have caught life. I have come down with life. I was a wisp of undifferentiated nothingness, and then a little peephole opened quite suddenly. Light and sound poured in. Voices began to describe me and my surroundings. Nothing they said could be appealed. They said that I was a boy. I was named Rudolph Waltz, and that was that. They said the year was 1932, and that was that. They said I was in Midland City, Ohio, and that was that. They never shut up. Year after year, they piled detail upon detail. They do it still. You know what they say now? They say the year is 1982 and that I'm 50 years old. Blah, blah, blah. And so that's the beginning of the story. This is obviously it's a fictional novel, and Rudy Waltz is the main character. So I love the way that this book begins, because it really does just kind of show how perception is created. You're born, suddenly a peephole opens up and you have all this sound and all this light coming in to your consciousness. Your consciousness when you're born is a completely clean slate. You know nothing. In fact, you're a wisp of undifferentiated nothingness until you're born. So what he's trying to kind of convey in that very first part of the book is just that everyone is told who they are, where they're from, they're told what year it is, And so we just go with it because, as he says in the book as well, all of these things cannot be appealed. So, with our perceptions, we all have very unique experiences. We have very unique beliefs, and basically, all of these things come together to form our consciousness. So, whatever your perception is based on what you've been told up until this point in your life, but not only what you've been told, but what you have decided to keep as a truth. Okay? So, now this doesn't only stop there. Anything that you consume is actually consuming your consciousness. The media knows that. So, if you're feeling very uneasy about the world at this particular time with the COVID-19, and there have been, some very peaceful protests, but there have also been some rioting and looting, and there is even 6 blocks in Seattle that have been taken over by anarchists. So when you watch the news or go onto social media, you can kind of see that the world is a little bit chaotic right now. And it seems that there is no end in sight. So that's creating a lot of unnecessary fear in all of these people that are just living their lives as usual. So, people that aren't involved in any of these situations are actually letting their consciousness be pulled in, and therefore they're letting that fear take over. And they're technically letting the media determine if they are happy, if they're upset, and what they're upset about. And the sad part about that is that those voices can't be appealed because they are unrelenting. So it is important for each of us to try to ground ourselves in what our true perceptions are. So it's very important to review your beliefs from time to time. Don't simply watch the television, and just take everything you see as absolute truth. Your perception is yours. Therefore, I believe that it's time for each individual to become even more involved in the formation of their consciousness and in the evolution of their perceptions. Because we are told so many things to believe, but a lot of those things that we're told are either false, half-truths, or it's like our perception has been manipulated in some way by photographs or words or, something along those lines. And then if you add on top of all of that, a lot of people out there have religious dogma that they are also kind of dealing with as well. To be quite honest with you, 2020 has been a very difficult year for a lot of us. Just because we've had to deal with so many crazy things. It's like the world has gone mad. So this is kind of unprecedented how I feel like we've just been bombarded with one thing after another, but yet our perception is also being manipulated at the same time. We are being told what we should be outraged about, and we're also being told how we should respond to such outrage. I'm here to wake you from your slumber. So let me introduce you to a man who goes by the name of Zach Voorhees. Zach Voorhees is a person who is a Google whistleblower. And there's also this YouTuber who goes by the name of Young Pharaoh, who did an interview with Zach Voorhees about a month ago. And in that video, Zach explains his entire situation working with Google and finding out that Google and YouTube have a massive problem with censorship. And they are trying to censor just the right things to kind of program our perceptions to kind of fit the narrative that they want us all to see. With Google being one of the largest search engines, as well as YouTube, this is some information that should be shocking and outraging to all of us. But we don't know about it. So, if you haven't seen that interview on Young Pharaoh's channel yet, I will be sure to put a link to that in my description box down below. Now, that is a long interview, but I recommend watching it in full, even if you can only manage to watch it in little pieces. His story is so important for all of us to hear, especially at this time in our lives, where it seems like our perceptions are being manipulated more than ever with the internet, social media, television, and all these other media outlets. Now, if you do go and watch that video, the interview, I just want to warn you that it's going to shake you up if you are completely unaware of the complete level of manipulation going on in the world today. It really is true that there is about 1% of the population controlling the other 99%. And of course, that same 1% likes to speak as though they're part of the 99% and vilify themselves, the 1%. So let's keep that in mind as well. The television tells lies to your vision. Now, another thing I want to point out to you guys, besides that interview, is Operation Mockingbird. So earlier in the century, in our last century, about mid-century, the CIA began infiltrating the media through what they called Operation Mockingbird. Now, of course, if you Googled it today, they would say that it ended and it's not going on today. But if you really look into the media and if you really look into the people who are constantly telling us what to believe, then you will begin to see connections with all these people that simply are beyond coincidence. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go into all of that here for the sake of saving time, but I really do suggest that all of you go out and begin your own research campaign in regards to who you've been listening to, who have you been receiving information from, and do these people make you feel good or do they make you feel bad? Are you constantly in a state of feeling anxiety or stress or even fear based on what you're consuming? It's time to realize that what you consume is consuming you. Okay? Let me say it again. What you consume with your senses, your physical senses, is consuming you. So I want us to take back our power. And the only way to do that is to individually wake up and take back our own power on our own. Okay? So now I just want to give you some tips on how to take your power back from what's been consuming you. Changing your perception is not an overnight process. Trust me, I have been deprogramming my consciousness and then reprogramming my consciousness over the last decade. But I want you to know that it is possible and you can start right now. You can start today. So obviously, tip number 1, I already gave you guys, and that is to go and do some research. Do not just take what you learn at face value, especially if it gives you certain negative feelings. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that I speak a lot on the scale of consciousness. The book Power versus Force explains how this works. But through kinesiology, we do learn that the lower vibrational energies, such as fear, anger, shame, jealousy, and those kind of things, those energies actually weaken you. They weaken your mind, they weaken your physical body, they literally weaken your muscles, and they weaken your immune system. Now, the higher vibrational energies, such as love, even neutrality and courage, but love and enlightenment and joy, those feelings actually strengthen you. It strengthens you physically, it strengthens you mentally, it strengthens you emotionally and spiritually, and it will boost your immune system, making it so that you will rarely get sick if you're always trying to stay in a high vibration. So it is so important to understand how certain media heads are making you feel, okay? Because you do not want to take on those negative emotions without, just kind of mindlessly taking on these emotions and not really knowing why you're so angry or why you have so much anxiety or stress. It is detrimental to your system to be doing that. So I recommend to turn off the news and start to do your own research. But let me tell you, the farther you go down the rabbit hole of control and manipulation of humanity, the darker it gets. So don't be afraid of what you're about to learn as you begin your research. So as you begin to take some of your power back just through giving yourself more information rather than simply blindly following, you begin to feel a little bit better about yourself, because then you're starting to see that, oh, well, I guess I don't have to be outraged every time someone tells me to be outraged. It's time to look a little deeper under the surface. Now, my second tip for how to take your power back from this situation would be to repeat positive affirmations on a daily basis. Your mind is always thinking, as I've explained before as well. The average person actually experiences about 50,000 or more thoughts each and every day. And the thoughts that you're actually experiencing are very likely unconscious or uncontrolled in some way. So the best way to begin, like filling your mind with a different type of mind chatter, would be to start giving yourself some positive self-talk. Now, the best way that I found to change, the fastest way, that is, to change your self-talk is to actually engage in affirmations, because then you are consciously programming your mind with positive thinking, at least during those times of the day that you are practicing your affirmations. Those of you who have watched lots of my videos already know what my third tip is going to be. So if you guessed that I'm going to tell you to meditate, you are correct. Meditation is such a great way to still your mind. So even if you're new to the practice of meditation, you must have faith that with daily practice, you will begin to become more and more still in mind. So your thoughts will become more peaceful, and you're more able to recognize what types of thoughts and attitudes are actually stemming from you and your own consciousness. So I definitely recommend to begin meditating if you haven't already done that. And of course, if you already meditate, just keep going, keep doing that each and every day, because that is a great way to connect with your inner voice, It's a great way to still your mind, to understand your thoughts, and to learn to understand your emotions. So I love meditation because it has actually changed my life. And there are so many people out there who can attest to the wonderful benefits of meditation. So do your own research, begin to program your own thinking with positivity and high vibrations to make yourself stronger inside and out, and begin to meditate and enter the stillness each and every day. Those are my tips for how to stop letting whatever you consume you. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big old like. And if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, go ahead and click subscribe right under this video. And then you can click the bell to be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me. I love you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.